No cursing, although now Jesse's the wrong freaking size.
Jesse loves to go boop, 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 but he gets big again, but then he goes small, then he goes big.
That's one thing that we all know that Jesse just freaking loves to do.
Jesse just loves to do that. I don't know what to
all right.
tell you.
I was voted most likely to go boop, boop, boop.
Oh, it's unlisted.
High school.
All right, well, let me fix that. I thought I made it public. And now it's public. Done.
Who's recapping?
No one's recapping. We don't recap.
Okay,
anymore.
good. That's
All
great.
right.
You either saw the movie or you didn't, idiot.
I didn't watch it yet. I thought I'd have time this morning.
I thought I was going to watch it during the stream.
Great. So that's it. We're live. Welcome to Crack Movie Club. It's like a book club, but for movies, which are like books but better. I'm your hospitable host with a heart of a blank because I forgot to do something. Shoot, I guess I was working on something else.
You forgot anything else that started with the letter H?
Well, I don't know. I was like, maybe I'll look up.
Hostile.
Yeah. A heart of hostile. Yeah.
With a hostile heart.
Yeah. Jordan Breeding. I'm joined by my co-hosts Jesse and Allie. Say hello.
Hello.
Hi.
So,
which one is Jesse? Which one is Allie?
You'll never
guess,
know.
It'll take the world's greatest detective to find out. So we had been doing recaps for this, but I don't think we need to recap this movie.
I'll go.
No, it's fine. So here's what we're going to do instead. I'm going to explain why we're doing it, but if anybody who's watching, which is so far 50 people, if any of you watching have an observation or a question or an alternate movie title for this film, please share it. And Brian Slack is in the chat, and he'll say something, or they'll say something, and at the end we'll address questions and concerns and alternate titles and stuff like that. So, in the meantime, why are we doing this movie? Well, because it's popular, kids, and we're trying to appeal to the children. Also, I don't know, I like Batman. Batman's cool.
There were a lot of children, and then by the children I mean children in my showing.
Oh.
And they were either having the best time of their life or not, because they weren't really watching the movie. They were just running up and down the aisles, sort of like with their arms out like Batman. So either they were having an amazing time or a terrible time. And I can't really tell.
I feel like you watched it like story time at a library.
Yeah, I went to a 9 a.m. showing for the pediatric showing of... No, I didn't. I went to like a totally normal like 7 o'clock showing on a Tuesday. My theater was packed, and I sat next to a man who I think I'm going to have to call him the Riddler, because he loved the clues in the movie and was really interested in solving them out loudly for everyone.
Wow.
About 2 seconds before it was said by the protagonist in the movie. So not really ahead of the plot in any way, shape, or form, but
it's
just
like a
sort
Blue's
of
Clues kind of situation.
That is exactly what it was like. It was so annoying, because it was like, if this guy had been like spoiling it but really right, you would at least be like, okay, game recognized game, like shut the fuck up, but thanks for being right. Oh, sorry.
Oh God, we're demonetized.
Are we? Did I make it? Did I make it under the wire?
I think we made it. I think we made it 30 seconds.
Woo! So yeah, instead of being like, that guy's gonna do that, and him getting that 20 minutes ahead, being like, oh, okay, you got it. Literally, as Batman was opening his mouth to say something, he'd be like, that kid's wearing the same glasses as the Riddler. That's the Riddler as a kid. And we were like, I know. I'm also watching the movie.
Right. Well, here's the thing. Here's to turn this into a critique of the movie. These were not tough riddles.
No.
They weren't really particularly clever, and they weren't fun like
the
Jim Carrey.
He was a much better creative, like he was better with his hands than he was at making riddles. Like he was a very crafty sort. Like he could make his own uniform. He could clearly cut paper and cut out fonts to make his cute little greeting cards.
He was very impressive at that. Yeah.
It seems to me like he put so much effort into the like prop making that when it came time to the riddle, he was like, oh, right. Okay. Okay. If you're a little rat, don't come near me, Batman. And then they're like, well,
like,
the prop is good. He's really made a nice card.
It's like me when I come up with titles for this podcast and compared to when I'm supposed to recap it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, I'm going to make a couple of quick logical leaps just so I can tell a totally arbitrary story that relates to you sitting next to the Riddler. You ready? All right. Birthday cards. Her, the movie with Joaquin Phoenix, who's a card guy.
Yep.
Joaquin Phoenix was the Joker. I probably actually added an extra step. I could just jump straight to the Joker. I was watching the Joker in theaters 2 years ago or whatever. And remember all the people that were afraid that somebody was going to come in your theater and shoot you because the Joker was crazy?
Because it happened in... Well, it happened
Aurora.
in...
Dark Knight Rises,
Aurora.
yeah. It's funny because I remember sitting there the whole time looking around, trying to see what sketchy white dudes were coming into the theater that might want to shoot me. And then I realized halfway through the movie, I'm a sketchy white dude with my hood up taking notes because I was doing it for Cracked, or I was doing it for another website. And then I relaxed. I was like, well, if anybody's going to shoot everyone in this theater, it's going to be me, and I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, the person sitting next to you was like hands like gripping their thighs, like, I will hit him. If it comes down to it, I can hit this man.
If anybody wants to know the experience of being a white man in America, Jordan just really summed it up. Like, oh, if there's gonna be violence, it's gonna be at my hands. So I'm
so it's like,
or you're looking around trying to assess the violence, being like, oh, I guess it's me. I almost did some violence against the man sitting next to me, solving all the clues in the movie 2 seconds before anybody said anything.
So, well, that's the first thing that I wanted to get to, which is ultimately I did really enjoy the movie, just in a general sense, but I do feel like the best thing what could have been the best thing about it, right, is this mystery thing. Like he's the world's greatest detective. We should write a really great freaking mystery instead of normally it's like, the world's greatest detective. Here's your mystery. That guy with the clown paint that's shooting people, stop him. And it's like, well, that's why they called me the world's greatest detective.
At least he did some detectiving.
Totally.
Because I feel like I can't remember the last Batman movie I saw where he like straight up went back to a lab to put clues together. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like I don't feel like that's like a current thing. I really liked this movie, and I know that when we were recording for Howard the Duck, I was like, oh man, you guys, I'm probably gonna hate this, and then I'm gonna be like the wet blanket, like it's just like not really my thing, and like I'm gonna go onto this live stream, everyone's gonna be like, boo, but I really liked it a lot. I had like a great time.
It's a fun movie.
I had a really good time. I liked that it was, I've seen a correct criticism that it is long.
Yeah.
It is long. It is very long. And for a person who has to pee a lot, that was a stressful thing for me. But it was long. And so I've seen like a current thing like on Twitter and stuff of people being like, why have the Penguin and the Riddler, combine them into one character? And I was like, wait, that's
Piddler.
That's really good. I just like greatly disagree with that because like I thought the thing that was so fun about the movie was like having this large cast of characters and that like you're sort of like, oh, the Riddler's going to be the Penguin's going to be a really serious bad guy, but he's kind of like a patsy. And then like, I don't know, like that to me was very, I liked it. I was interested in it. And it felt sort of like the antithesis of the recent Spider-Man movie, which was sort of like an improv scene where it's like, you got your who, you got your what, you got your where. I'm the bad guy. I've got electric powers and I don't like Spider-Man because he didn't come to my birthday. It's like, you know what I mean? Like first line, you know who everybody is.
Right.
And this movie was like lots of characters and you think it's this guy, but actually this guy did it. And then, oh no, it's all been pulling the strings of this guy. And the Penguin isn't even all that powerful or important at all. Like you thought he was going to be some sort of mastermind, but he's kind of like I don't know. And he sort of has that Jack. Yeah, and he has like that Jack Ruby moment at the end when he kills the guy before they can get his information. I don't know. I was like, oh, cool. I'm meeting people.
Yeah.
Yeah. The villains were all pretty grounded, which is new. I think maybe I sound like an idiot, but seems to me new for a Batman. They were definitely, each one of them was like a weird little creepy guy, but they weren't like real super in any way. They stuck out in Gotham as weirdos.
A lot of different brands of creepy guy.
So
this movie like really dares to ask the question, how many creepy guys are out there?
Yeah.
And it posits that there are many types.
Yeah, I do think the Christopher Nolan Batmans, they were still like seem somewhat plausible. They were magic ninjas, but like how magic? Or they were clowns that were deranged, or big men in masks. But yes, you're right. Even still, these are all much more grounded. And actually, I do think so. To get back to my point, which is that I wish that the mystery was a little bit better, or the detectiving. Have either of you, for any reason, read The Long Halloween, the Batman comic?
Nope.
I haven't read.
Can you imagine if I'd said yes,
Yeah.
though? I was like, oh, that's the one. Sorry, I haven't read any other things. I don't know a lot about Batman, that one I have
Well,
read.
that's the thing.
That's
I've only read like 10 comic books in general, but that's one of the ones that I read, and I read it relatively recently. And this whole time, I'm wrestling Jesse's stupid screen. I don't know why you keep getting big. I don't know why you keep.
Oh, you're the one that has to deal with
Yeah,
that?
it's just going bloop, and so then I have to grab it and shift it. Sorry, people.
I love it.
I think it makes for good audio content.
Yeah.
So, this was sort of loosely based. Like they used that as a jumping point. Matt Reeves did. Matt Reeves? That's his name, right?
Yes.
Okay, now I'm
yes,
suddenly
yes,
doubting
yes.
myself. And I will say that the detective mystery thing in that, the reveal is way cooler. Which is to say, the whole thing in that one is somebody is killing a bunch of mobsters and nobody knows why. And they call him the holiday killer because it goes through all the holidays. They kill people on Valentine's Day and St. Patrick's Day and stuff. And it turns out that it's actually spoilers for anybody that's going to read this like 40-year-old Batman comic. It's Harvey Dent's wife is killing everybody.
Huh.
And Harvey
Okay.
Dent...
Harvey Dent is Two-Face?
Correct, but he's originally Commissioner Gordon. I'm sorry, he's not Commissioner Gordon. He's the district attorney. If you remember in The Dark Knight, he's played by Aaron Eckhart. He's like the
Yes.
White Knight compared to Batman's Dark Knight. And so the interesting thing is it turns out that his wife has been killing everybody because she wanted him to be home more. And he keeps being like, I got to go out and I got to go stop crime. And she's like, well, here's then I'm going to help. I'm going to murder everyone in this city. But of course, in doing so, he becomes Two-Face and he becomes evil and all this stuff. And I just think the whole thing is Batman trying to be like, did Harvey Dent, is he killing people? Is Commissioner Gordon killing people? Because that's part of the thing that's interesting. And Jesse's head just got 6 times larger.
Yes.
It's.
I got to get on YouTube. I want to see this for myself.
I think the thing that's so interesting about that is bad guys are being killed. And there's the ethical dilemma of Batman being like, do I even want to stop this person? And them sort of being like, I guess if it's somebody, it's probably Commissioner Gordon. Like, it's a good person, right? It's just another extension of me, except they kill. It's like the Punisher in Daredevil or something.
Uh-huh.
Whereas in this one, it's like, oh, the bad guy is the bad guy? It's Falcone? The bad guy is also
Well, I mean,
a
I guess
bad
it wasn't
guy?
it wasn't like, oh my God, that creepy guy's bad, but it was more like which creepy guy is
I know.
bad and like who's pulling the strings. And like I liked the little subplot within the plot of the one guy who was, I don't even remember his job anymore. That's kind of a both a plus and a downfall of the movie, is that it was like so realistic that now I'm like, I don't know what job he had. The guy who he put into like the bomb and he like crashed into the funeral.
Oh,
What's
yeah.
I
his
think he
job?
was the DA.
He was the DA?
He's some kind of big cop.
He was some sort of, he had something going on. I don't remember his job anymore. I
Right.
feel like I had to like go like
He was important
Gotham
enough
and like
to get
Gotham
assassinated.
directory of whatever. But like I liked that there was like a moment in there where it was like, tell me who's ratting out all these people. Tell me who you're like working for, or you're gonna die. And he's like, I'm dead either way. Like
Right.
this goes so deep and this is so dangerous. So, like, and I'm already on the precipice. Like I'm either gonna die because you blow up my head right now, or I'll get killed in my sleep like 3 days from now. And I was like, oh, interesting. I don't know, just like I felt like it's been a while since I've seen a superhero movie where the stakes have been sort of, the danger is equal between the supervillains and just like people. Like I can't remember the last time I've seen something where it's like, I am just as scared of this man who abducted me in my car and is like a supervillain as I am of the guy I work for who has an equal amount of resources to kill me. This guy's, whoa.
Oh, that's the kind of thing that you only get on the live stream, baby.
That's really, yeah, we would have edited that out. We would have been like making a bunch of jokes, and Jordan would have been like, shut up, we're going to edit that out. And you would have missed 5 minutes of jokes about the bike.
But now you get it.
But now you see it all. But yeah, so I just like,
I think another movie that did that really well was Blank Man.
You're so right.
Or of course you're afraid of the villain, but you're also afraid of just growing up in Cleveland or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you remember what was the offensive thing that the grandma said to the mob boss that made him have to kill her? When she was like, "You got a tiny little peepee in your pants," or whatever.
Yeah.
Like imagine if somebody said that to like Falcone or whatever here, and that he was like, "And now I have to kill her."
Right. That's what's been driving the Riddler for years. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I will say.
I don't have a tiny peen.
Speaking of tiny peens, no. Speaking of the Riddler, I do think the best. For me, thematically, the best part of the movie was the Riddler just assuming that he and Batman were on the same side because
I loved that.
Because I will say,
I loved that.
Yeah, I tweeted about this when like the first trailer came out, which is like, oh, great, a movie dealing with the theme of vengeance. Will they think it's good, or will they think maybe it's not all it's cracked up to be? Because every movie that comes out now is like Liam Neeson is 300 years old, and he's like, I'm going to murder. Well, maybe that's not a good example of it, but it's a lot of like, oh, I'm a superhero and I'm going to beat up a bunch of people for some reason. And then I realize, oh, maybe that wasn't enough. Like that's not enough for me. But the fact that I love that it's a twist on the scene where inevitably the villain always looks at the hero and is like, you and I are the same because of whatever. And the Riddler doesn't do that at all. He's like, yeah, you know how we're the same? And he's like, wait, no, I don't think that. He's like, what do you mean you don't think that? As opposed to Joker.
The Riddler's like, we've been dating. And he's like, whoa, I did not think we were dating. And he's like, we've been exclusive for like 6 months, Batman. Right. I love that. That was really fun.
I just think that's such a better way to take it than Riddler being like, no. Let me convince you we're totally the same. Rather than being like, what do you mean we're not the same? You've been massacring everybody. Just like.
You literally did what I asked you to do. I said, kill that guy, and you went and killed him. And he's like, well, not in that way. And he's like, well, kind of in that way. Like, you kind of did exactly what I asked you to.
Yeah.
You got all my letters, did you not?
Right.
Yeah. We have been dating. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Tough month to be a guy with clear frame plastic glasses. Sound off in the comments if your life has gotten harder. If you're a guy wearing clear frame plastic glasses
and have duct taped your whole body.
I will get through this. I'm very sorry for you. Tough month to be one of those guys, of which there are many in New York. I could name you 100 guys with
name names.
I can name names. I can name a lot of names. Sorry if your life has gotten harder because of the movie. I guess I didn't watch any trailers for this, or if I did, they went in one ear and out the other because I didn't know any of the actors in the movie, besides, I guess, like Zoe Kravitz and Robert Pattinson. Yeah. But I was like, oh, Jeffrey Wright. Oh, Andy Serkis. I was just like surprised and delighted by everybody who popped up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Andy Serkis really caught me by surprise.
Really didn't know he was in the movie. Was he in the trailers? I didn't see it.
Yeah, he was.
They CGI'd him out, though.
Right.
That's why I didn't know he was in the movie. He was like a dragon, and then they were like, oh, it's actually Andy Serkis. Oh, it's actually Andy Serkis.
Yeah, he also played every bat in the movie that just sort of like flew in the background, and all the cats.
If somebody told me that was true, I'd be like, well, he is the best in the biz. Like, I believe it.
You know, there weren't a lot of bats in this. I don't remember seeing, because they didn't really do his backstory.
Right.
They just sort of alluded to it.
He had bats in his house.
I don't remember, but I will say that I think that points to a really important thing. Oh no, you guys have lagged out.
Yeah, everybody's frozen for a minute.
Oh, there we go. We're all back.
Okay.
You're back.
I see everybody. Okay, that's great.
What I was gonna say,
the Riddler.
Yeah, well, what I was gonna say about the bats in the house. I think this movie is really interesting, as we already mentioned, at how gritty and like realistic it is. Except he still has ears and a cape. It's just goofy. I know it has to be a Batman movie, but
that's weird.
The Riddler is like a dude in a trench coat wearing saran wrap and duct tape, as opposed to the Jim Carrey version with all the question mark suits and all this stuff. And everybody is really pretty normal. Yeah. Even the Penguin is just like a guy in a suit with a goofy face. Except the freaking Batman was walking around with ears and a cape, and because they don't do his backstory, it's just like he just thought it was cool. He just liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
nobody
also,
calls him Batman in the movie, which is a good detail because like he doesn't like no, you know what I mean? They're like this
No.
freak. Like none of the
No,
cops
you're
are like,
totally.
"Uh-oh, it's Batman."
Yeah, they're like, oh yeah,
there's that guy.
Here's just another weirdo. Well, that was the thing that at first threw me about the villains in particular, where they're like, this guy, they call him the Penguin. But you don't have to call him that. You could just call him Oscar.
Yeah.
Like they were just sort of like
Yeah.
secondary nicknames.
Right.
Well, it's like coming home from summer camp with a new nickname, and you're like, all the kids at camp called me the Penguin, and they're like, okay, well, to me, you're still Brian, so what's up, Brian? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not calling you the Penguin just because your camp friends called you Penguin. Like, no fucking way.
Yeah. I mean, the Riddler's good because I like how they turned that into essentially a serial. He's like the Zodiac killer or whatever. It makes sense for him to get a goofy name, and I think that's a really good way to take the character. Is, I mean, it's better than even the Joker. Even the Joker, you're a little bit like, I mean, is that the first clown you would think of? Or like clown adjacent?
No.
I mean, I guess if you had calling cards, he literally hands cards to everyone.
It would be really funny, though, if they started calling him, like, the greeting card, the Hallmark killer.
The Hallmark
Do you know what I
kid.
mean? And he was like,
monster.
no. The important part is the riddles. And they're like,
What is it?
Hold on a second. Look at this. He handcrafted this Hallmark level card. He this is laser cut by a professional printer. The Hallmark
craftsman.
killer. The craftsman.
The
and he's
fancy
like, no,
killer.
it's the riddles. And they're like, no. On the inside it says, answer me my riddles 3. Come on out, Batman. I'll treat you to dinner. And you're like, that's not real. Like,
it's an invitation. The inviter.
An invitation.
Right. The inviter.
Now, what is it about? Isn't it like most serial killers, like the cops name them, the cops and or the press, like they don't usually name themselves except in the world of Batman. I think it was like maybe BTK kept trying to like make different nicknames work. And they were just like, maybe he was like one of the few that actually like named himself that. I think that was it. He's like, I'm the bind, torture, kill, killer. I'm like, fine, we don't have anything shorter. We'll use it.
Yeah.
All right.
Does he say that he is the Riddler at some point?
I don't know. That's what I'm wondering, I guess, is how
I don't think
in this
so.
world does he actually acquire the nickname?
I think they just he's the riddle boy. He does the riddles.
Little riddle boy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they went out of their way to make sure that that Batman never introduced himself as Batman. So if people refer to him as such, it was because someone was like, "Oh, it's that guy who's a bat. It's the Batman." As opposed to, because like every time they were like, "Who are you?" he always specifically said, "I am vengeance," so that we could have that fun little twist at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Which was good. I again really, really liked the movie. Was surprised by how many of the Riddler's followers were really good at organizing and also physical activity. It didn't necessarily seem like 3 circles that meet with a Venn diagram in the middle. Do you know what I mean? It's like extremist, great at organizing, can climb scaffolding.
Yeah, it's like people that actually own a lot of tactical gear that are not in the military usually aren't like the most nimble, you know?
They seemed really able to execute a lot of everything from the plan to the climbing.
I don't know. I didn't think that part was that wacky. I think there are a lot of crazy dudes with guns who are willing to climb up into scaffolding. I mean, Paul Dano.
Willing or able?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, how many people on January 6th, God rest its soul, I don't know how to suffix that, but how many people just fell off of walls because they were weighed down by their like bulletproof vests that they had never worn outside before?
Yeah, but those weren't the guys in the stream with Paul Dano teaching them how to do everything. I mean, they had like their own private little thread. I think that's the thing. I mean,
they had their own they had a little group chat.
They had a separate Discord channel.
That's the movie elevation.
Renaming the group chat name, and they're like, "Stop, we're the Riddler's boys." And he's like, "JK, renaming us to," and there's like, "Stop!" Like
the Hallmark kids.
We've already decided on Riddler's boys.
Yeah.
Sneaky question kids.
Yeah.
Stop group chat.
I mean, I didn't have a huge I will say that the general thing that I think is interesting. Oh, I will say too, just because the Joker clearly already has gangs, like that's one of the gangs that he fights at the beginning, where he just like beats that dude into an ever-loving pulp for like no
reason.
That's
a Joker? That's a Joker gang?
I do think so, yeah. So I think Because
I thought it was like people joining a black metal band. I don't know. It sort of had like skull makeup to me. Am I wrong?
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Because then there's that one kid. This is, I'm sure, going to be different from what you're saying, Jordan. But I'm going to go there anyway. There's the one kid that he lets go that I thought, oh, this is like an origin story for Robin. Like that kid's going to, because that one kid only had half of his face painted.
Right.
And so he's like half evil, half good. Which one's he going to choose? But maybe that's a sequel.
Well.
Oh, I see. I think people think that kid he rescued, who's the mayor's kid, is poised to be a Robin someday.
Oh, okay, good.
Oh, okay, good. Oh, okay, good.
Oh, thank God.
I want to make sure.
No, that's what I was thinking. That's what I figured. And I thought it was an original observation.
I think it was.
No, but I like the idea that the other kid who like is like, Batman, you made me realize not to be bad. I'm Robin now.
Somebody's arguing with me now that it's not a Joker gang, but I'm pretty positive. They look a hell of a lot like the Joker gang in
what do they think it is?
The Dark Knight Returns. I don't know. We'll get to that at the end. I'm going to get sucked into a
fight?
Yeah.
Fight, Jordan.
Which I often do. It doesn't matter because there already is the Joker at the end of the movie. Spoiler alert. I think it's just showing that basically Gotham is predisposed to being radicalized, I think. And I mean, so like clearly that kid, the reason it was half, right, is because he never murdered anyone, right? I think that's the assumption.
Yeah, that's I think it was like the rest of the initiation. And
they
were like, here's the chance.
Yeah.
Join the gang for real this time. Make a really good greeting card.
No, because he's a Joker. He's like, you got to shoot this guy.
Make a really good joke. We'll give you 5 setups, and you have to come up with 5 different punchlines. And if it's really good, you can be a Joker boy.
Well, that's what.
What's the Adam Sandler movie where he's rich, but he just likes to make Hallmark cards, like freelance Hallmark cards? I
don't know.
Chat, get my back.
What?
Chat, get his
Adam
back.
Sandler makes cards, and he's rich.
Yeah, he made. Yeah, shoot. It's the one where he's a super nice guy and he inherits a lot of money.
Mr. Deeds?
Mr. Deeds, yeah, that's his thing. He likes to write his own greeting cards and read them at open mics, I guess. But anyway, that's they're in the same universe, and so Adam Sandler is the Riddler. Should be the Riddler.
Wow. Okay. Adam Sandler's the Riddler.
Well, that was a fun deviation. I'm going to bring it to what I was going to say, which is when we're talking about the skill level of these soldiers who mostly just shoot for the chest, which is good for them, or it's good for Batman anyway, because he never dies. I think I mentioned this to you all, but maybe I didn't. Are you pointing to the chat, or are you pointing to somebody outside?
I'm pointing to the chat.
We all agreed we weren't going to look at the chat. I don't even have the chat open.
I'm not looking at the chat except when they say things about me that are mean.
Yeah.
Somebody paid $20. Somebody paid $20 to call you hot, Jordan.
What?
Did you catch that at the beginning?
It was my mom. No,
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. My mom wouldn't pay $20. She'd say $20 to. I don't know. I don't want to say this. She might watch it. I don't want to make a joke. I love you, Mom. What I was gonna say though is I do feel like I've just been ruined. I think what I have in my notes is that I'm so tired of the Western action-adventure style fighting. So we've watched The Raid 2 now in an earlier podcast, and that's all I want from every movie. I want those car chases. I want those fight scenes. And so even at the end where Batman is like sort of swinging around and like kicking dudes and stuff, I don't know why. I just like don't care anymore. I just am not interested in like a lumbering tank dude punching. I don't know why.
Give Batman a long knife.
There was a moment in the movie where I was like, Batman needs to be able to do better in this fight than a fight from Old Boy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I did actually have that thought as well, where it was sort of like he has to make his way down the hallway and he has to fight all these guys. I mean, like kind of really gets his ass handed to him. And I think they're trying to do it to just be like, hey, just remember, he is just a guy.
Yeah.
Like, he is not actually super. He did not come from another planet. He is just, like, a dude. But there was a moment where I was like, I kind of wish he was doing a little better. Because, like, an old man locked in a room looking for revenge for 17 years or whatever did fight better than you, Batman.
Well, but even more than... But he is invincible at other points. He gets literally machine gunned by, like, 3 dudes for a good 30 seconds, but he's bulletproof in that hallway with the like flashing lights and stuff, and is unaffected because they just never bothered to aim up at his face. And it is a cool scene visually, but you could also see that exact same thing happening where he like dodged or something, as opposed to, I don't know. I didn't hate it. I just want I want him to be flying around. I just, instead of like lumbering up and being like, I can't die. And they're like, I don't know why I can't shoot through your chest. It's like, well, his whole face is exposed. I know I'm not the first person to make that joke or make that observation. I just want every movie to be the Raid 2, and I need that to be established on every podcast, every episode that we
Jordan,
do.
If you have 90 minutes, you should watch Bruce Willis's Deadlock, because there's a lot of the henchmen have like the dialogue that like every Batman like villain's henchman should have. They literally say things like, "I'm gonna fucking kill you," and then just blast him with the gun and stuff, and still miss inexplicably.
I think I gave you guys all the fun ones. Just
in one of the Bruce Willis movies that I watched, I made Jesse watch a clip from it because his line delivery is identical to the line delivery of the actor who plays Detective Crashmore in the sketch from I Think You Should Leave.
So
like literally Bruce Willis is being like, "Come at me or don't, whatever you want. I'm gonna sit here." And I was like, "That's Detective Crashmore."
Yeah.
And so there also was
Crashmore.
To finally try and bring this back to Batman. There was actually, of the things that I like about this Batman versus previous iterations of Batman, which, by the way, I said the last time we were recording on our Howard the Duck episode that like the Batman I like is the one from 1989 that has the Prince soundtrack. So like I didn't expect to like this movie because I like when movies are kind of stupider. But I did like this one. And part of it was that like I think I just kind of believe who this person is as Batman, like the man behind the Batman more. I like never ever understood 30 to 40-year-old Batman who's a socialite and like a ladies' man and like a well-known member of Gotham. I like didn't understand. I didn't understand
of those three things. I get it.
As a Playboy hottie, I understand. I didn't understand how he could be such a well-known guy and invite so many people into his personal life, even briefly, but then also be like, I could die tonight. I'm going to go out there and die. Or I don't just.
It's because his parents died.
That's what I'm saying. As a child of dead parents, I'm often sad, but I'm very rarely like flipping around. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's okay.
Allie is not vengeance. Allie is, what are you?
I don't know.
Improv.
Doing third beats in an improv scene.
Yeah.
I guess like I understand, or I can comprehend better a maladjusted 27-year-old who has not made any serious relationships in his life post the trauma of losing his parents at a young age, being like, Detective Crash, this is why I was going to bring it back to Detective Crashmore, being like, I don't care if I die, everything is sucked lately. Like, that was this Batman. This Batman was, I don't care if I die, everything has sucked lately. And so I believe that guy would put on a crazy suit and go out and fight gangs because, like, what the fuck else is he doing with his life? He, like, hasn't made connections. He doesn't want to make connections. And then there's, like, a moment of realization where he's like, oh, wait a minute. I don't care if I die, but I do really care if Alfred dies. And that kind of, like, changes his worldview.
Yeah.
I believe it. I believe it a lot more than this 40-year-old being like, you know, some lady being like, oh, Brucey, you had to leave the Met Gala early. That was so sad. Also, unrelatedly, there was a jewel heist. But luckily, Batman stopped it. And it's like, yeah. Because you're fat. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, you're right. I think that also goes back to how just like grounded everything was. I think that's something that this movie did really, really well. You're like, oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I could see doing that.
Yeah.
I could see if I came up with like one really good riddle, I could base my entire personality around it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, cool. I got another thought. You ready?
Let's have
Talking about things that I like that are not quite what I wanted in life. So I love film noir. This movie is obviously very much influenced by film noir in the sense that everything is wet as hell. It's just a wet ass movie.
It rains every night. Mm-hmm. And like, I know people are like, Gotham's Chicago. Gotham's New York. Gotham is clearly like Seattle and or Fort Lauderdale. There's no other option.
Yeah.
It simply can't be anything else based on the amount of precipitation it gets.
Yeah. It's real wet. It's real dark. And the other thing that they bring over from like hard-boiled detective movies and stuff like this is the voiceover thing, which I did like at the beginning. I thought it was cool him trying to. Although I'm just going to say really quickly, why would the bat signal be a? Why would that strike fear in your heart? Because all that means is that the cops want to go talk to him somewhere, right? He could still be out there beating the hell out of somebody.
Right.
Someone will know this in the chat, and I have forgotten it. There was a theory of a prison that this philosopher wanted to build, and they wouldn't do it because he was expensive, and he got really mad. But the premise of it is that the prison is a circle, and in the center are where the guards are watching, and you can't see into it. So by virtue of the construction, you could be being watched at any time. And it was this man's theory that the implication or the threat of being watched / knowing that by looking at it, you could be seen, you would behave better simply by knowing that you are under the threat of constant surveillance.
Yeah. If you know that you could be watched, you just assume that you always are being watched.
I think it was called like the panopticon. Someone's gonna say it in the chat, and I'm gonna be embarrassed. Somebody's gonna know. But yeah, I feel like that's like essentially what they're trying to say is that like if the thing's in the sky, you will behave better merely under the threat that he could be out there.
I totally get that, but I still think that the word of Batman just existing and beating the shit out of things would be enough on its own. I just think maybe they don't know what it's for. I guess that's fair. Like, I guess criminals don't know that it's just Commissioner Gordon feeling lonely. I guess he's I guess he's not even Commissioner Gordon. He's just like lieutenant or like captain.
That's Mr. Gordon to you.
Yeah, exactly. That's what people call me, Mr. Gordon. Yeah, I assume that Commissioner Gordon just like is bored a lot.
Yeah. Well, he's just like, I think he can't solve any crimes without him. He is kind of an idiot, I think. So I'm just going to plug our The Batman for $20 that we just released a couple days ago. One of the things that we keep making fun of is Gordon will like bring his phone to Batman and be like, I forgot my password. Do you know it? Because he does do a lot of like, I don't understand this riddle. And Batman's like, here it is. And he's like, oh,
that's true.
Dang. Well, good job.
Commissioner Gordon's like, damn, this YouTube video is unlisted.
Yeah.
And Batman's like, you called me here for this?
Yeah.
You called me here for an unlisted YouTube video?
He's like, there's a severed thumb on this thumb drive. What do you think I do with it? He's like, you use that to like get into it. He's like, oh my God, I didn't even, or like for the fingerprint.
You're the world's greatest detective.
I really think you're right that like he is kind of stupid, but Jeffrey Wright has this like amazing ability with the quality of his voice that everything sounds very important. Like that's one of his many skills is that like he can make literally anything sound full of gravitas. And so I don't think I realized how dumb he was because I was like, that man's saying important things. And now you're like, yeah, he couldn't figure out the thumb drive thing. And I'm like, yeah, that is pretty stupid, huh?
Yeah.
I don't know. Jeffrey Wright, that's his superpower.
And he's good at that. I mean, I didn't there's nothing wrong with his portrayal necessarily. I just thought it was kind of goofy. He mostly doesn't do anything other than kind of like call Batman to the scene, and they're like, "Get him the hell out of here, Gordon!" And he's like, "Ah, shit, my bad," or just like everybody thinks he's an idiot. He's like, "Why don't you like punch me in the penis so you can escape?" And he's why would I have to do that? I'm just gonna run out the door.
And then he was like, And then he was like, why'd you punch me in the penis so hard?
Right.
Make sure you fully break my erect penis.
It's just, I mean, it was fine. It's just kind of like a goofy, he's sort of a comic relief type guy, but it's hard to believe that at least Commissioner Gordon theoretically had a bunch of insight or access to a lot of resources and stuff back in the day. But why does he need him at all for anything? Like the Batman, I mean, Robert Pattinson is like a billionaire or whatever, so why doesn't he just, I don't know, hire a PI or something? I just think it's goofy that he's working with it. I mean, I guess maybe it's fun for him. He's young. He just started. He'll get better.
Yeah, and people he seemed to not be like particularly well respected
Right.
within the, I don't know, hierarchy, the social hierarchy of the police station, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, right, because he was like the one cop that was like not corrupt, right?
Right.
That was not literally in
Yeah.
on this big
I mean,
conspiracy.
But he was also the only cop
Yeah.
that didn't know what was happening. That's what I think is funny. Is it's just like,
yeah.
it's funny. They're like, wow, he's so pure. He's not corrupt. He's like, no, he's the only moron who never noticed.
There was
Hey
also
guys,
that
if we
one
have a
cop-
shadow boss somewhere, you would tell me, right?
Yeah. Hey, you guys aren't like working for somebody else on the side, right? Because like you're not like leaving me out, right? Like no one's like going to a cool club at night and like not inviting me to the cool club. And they're like,
No,
yeah,
no.
Gordon, no, we're totally not going to a cool sex club at night where we do drugs. Go home to your family. And he's like, okay, you tell me though. Yeah, definitely. There was also that one cop that I liked. I actually really liked the performance of the actor in this like tertiary role of the cop who is like stationed at the Riddler's apartment when Batman comes back, and he's like, "Don't tear up the carpet."
Right.
He was
Yeah.
fun. He was also kind of like an idiot, but like kind of sweet, and like I think we're supposed to believe not corrupt.
Right. I think.
The point
Yeah,
of this
true.
movie is you have to be an idiot not to be corrupt in this town.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. It's like, yeah, all the good cops are also just fringe, useless, nice guys. They're like, you have to guard the empty building at night. Kind of cops where it's like that guy. He's like, yeah, my uncle, he does carpets. I'm just here.
I was like, I know what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, when the guy who I was sitting next to, when he held it up, he went, "That's the murder weapon." There was still blood on it.
Yeah, I will say, in his defense, people pointed this out. I watched all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, and a guy had like a gardening hoe, and I thought it was a hook hand. So sometimes it's just hard to know what.
Oh,
You
sure,
need
yeah.
you need to sit next to this guy when you go see all your movies because he'll tell you everything that's on the screen, whether you like
like-
it or not.
I've seen that. Oh yeah, your guy, your Riddler, the real
My
life
Riddler.
Riddler.
Yeah,
My real life Riddler.
yeah.
He was like, "That's the murder weapon." It's like, I know. It's
Oh.
in a thing that's marked evidence, and there's still blood on it.
You ever
That's what a
seen
murder
those
weapon
Empire?
looks like.
You ever seen those Empire carpet commercials? I've seen this before.
Truly.
Actually, that's funny that you say that only because there was a time when I was writing for Ranker a lot, but don't go there, go to crack.com. And I was watching Endgame and I was supposed to do all the Easter eggs, and the guy that I was supposed to go with bailed on me, so I was sitting next to somebody else who was truly the most helpful encyclopedic knowledge of stupid Marvel shit, and he would lean over and be like, "That's the kid from Iron Man 3. His name is Jeff. He's the best." And I was like, "You are
Thank you.
You are-
Jeff. He is the best.
Yeah, do you want to split this $80 I'm about to make or whatever minus the
Right.
ticket?" Anyway, so
The paw print is on Mrs. Pep.
but back to sorry, the point that I was going to make like 20 minutes ago, and then
Yeah, yeah.
immediately I did not like the voiceover at the end where he's like, "And just by the way, here are all the things I've learned about being a nice guy and helping people out. I just want to say vengeance is bad, helping people is good. Some politicians are fine.
Clean
A
up
lot
your
of them
seat when you
aren't
leave the
very
theater.
good.
Yeah, truth is
Yeah.
subjective, more or less, as long as it's true to you." And it is, I was like, all those things were established in the movie. You didn't have to say it. I could just see you
Yeah,
doing
but then he also was like, "If you didn't finish your popcorn, don't leave it at your seat.
it. Right,
It's more polite to take it to the lobby and dispose of it."
right.
Sure, somebody gets paid to clean it, but their job's already hard enough.
Yeah, I did appreciate that part. I will say, too,
I like that part.
I love the idea that he is still dressed as Batman, like shoveling shit in the outhouse or whatever. Like he is covered in mud, still in like full body armor, bulletproof stuff, like helping people get onto the helicopter or whatever. At that point, why couldn't he just come down as Bruce Wayne and be like, "Hey, sorry, I've been absent. I want to be more involved." But no, he's like, "And also I'm still bulletproof in case anybody shoots at us." It's just funny for Batman in the middle of the day to be like shoveling mud. And you're like,
Yeah.
True.
I feel like you
I
should
just
lose
don't
the
think
cape.
that he wants to be involved as Bruce Wayne.
I thought that's
like,
what he
I think
learned,
that-
sort of, at the end.
You think he learned that he can use his
Oh, yeah.
billions of dollars not to live in the house from Interview with a Vampire
Yeah.
and to instead do something for Gotham?
Yeah, because the whole thing was he realized the reason the Riddler came into being is because his dad's charity was neglected. and nobody was overseeing it, so they used it as a front. And eventually he realized, oh, that's actually my fault, sort of. I inherited that charity, and I never even bothered to look into it. Me, who is the world's greatest detective slash, My Chemical Romance fan. And anyway, I don't know. I think that part of his thing, his redemption, is like, oh, I'm going to care about works programs and stuff, but he does it as a dude dressed as a crazy bat in the middle of the day still.
Completely.
Which is sort of like, hey, I'm here to help you, and it's like, I'm gonna wait for the doctor.
We're good.
And it's like,
Yeah.
no, I'm gonna help you. I got a grappling gun.
No. I would like somebody who went to medical school to staunch this wound, please.
Yeah.
Not Batman. Batman's not allowed to staunch the wound.
Yeah.
My family paid for a medical school.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. How did it go? Badly. I haven't been overseeing it. Dr. Harley Quinn works there. Not good. I liked the Penguin. Like, I think I understand that there's a larger conversation here of just like, why don't we have more interesting looking character actors in Hollywood? So fair feedback. I do think that Colin Farrell was having a great time, which I can be sort of rare for people who are like overloaded with prosthetics. We talked about it when we talked about the we were watching Star Wars, and we were talking about how like visibly unhappy everybody looked in all the group scenes because they were just like sitting there under 40 pounds of prosthetics, just like frowning and squinting. And like, I could tell that he was having fun inhabiting the character and like, just like loving doing it. And that like the costume and makeup sort of like worked with him.
Yeah.
So I liked his performance. I liked the character. I just thought he was fun. I like when an actor is having fun because I have fun watching them have fun.
I agree with you on all those things. I just think it's so funny that they felt like they needed him to play that role in that way.
That is like fully a very fair feedback. And also like, where are the actors out there who like could more easily portray such a strange, unusual man? Do you know what I mean? Like, because they are out there.
Yeah.
Not everybody looks like Colin Farrell all the time. Like,
there
are good actors out there who are unusual types, character actors, and like, where did they go?
We are few and far between us who look like Colin Farrell.
I know it's really a burden. People stop me on the street every day and they're like, "Great working Batman." I was like, I'm not Colin Farrell, but thank you. I will let him know that you said that. It's crazy. Everyone's always thinking that, but he's having fun.
Speaking of,
I stopped. Okay, you good?
No, I was gonna.
No, mine.
No, you.
Every few weeks, I just ask Allie to make sure she's not actually Andy Serkis.
Oh.
Yeah.
If you're Andy Serkis, you have to tell me.
Sometimes I'm afraid that I'm Andy Serkis wearing a bunch of ping pong balls.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, it wasn't real the entire time.
Wake up in cold sweat.
You never know.
Checking yourself for ping pong balls. What I was going to say about casting a bunch of Irish character actors as American character villains. So the Joker pops up at the end. Spoilers for you idiots. I don't know why you'd be watching this if you hadn't seen it or worried about those things. I think, obviously they were going to bring the Joker in at some point. It's inevitable. I think he should have kept his Irish accent because, I'm not going to pronounce his last name right because Irish Gaelic phonetically makes no sense. But Barry Coogan or Barry Keoghan or Barry whatever, the guy who was Druig or whatever in the Eternals. I think an Irish Joker would be finally a new, interesting take on that character. Be like, why is this dude freaking Irish? Like, that's nuts. Like, he immigrated here and is just killing people indiscriminately and is dressed like a clown. Truly, it sounds like a joke. I honestly think that would be the most interesting because we're going to have to do this every 3 years for the rest of our life.
That they're going to be like, there's a serial killer out there and they were calling him the Irishman. And he's like, no, I'm the Joker.
What do? I tell jokes.
Okay, that's fair, I guess. But I just think it'd be really interesting to have an unhinged Irish clown as opposed to how many Jokers have we had in the last 3 years? Or in the last...
the 100.
Last 15 years.
I don't know.
A lot
of Jokers.
They're just a bunch of skinny, scary white dudes. It just would be really interesting, which I realize this would still be, but this one has
too many white Jokers. Let's get an Irishman in there.
Yep. I was gonna say a
Yeah.
joke from Kings of Summer, and if you know that movie, just insert it right here about what the Irish are. But if not, go watch that movie because The Kings of Summer is truly a delightful film. But the joke is a little racist, so I'm not gonna say it. But
yeah, so Colin Farrell's having fun, and I like that. And I felt like a lot of the tertiary characters were having fun, like the guy who was the DA who got blown up, and like
yeah,
there's just like a lot of actors just having a good time. Like, Zoe Kravitz's many things. I don't think she was having a blast. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To her defense, she was probably starving. They probably fed her green juice for 3.5 months, so you can't expect anybody to be having fun. It's like the last couple of days on Survivor, everybody's just mad. So fair game. Like you have to withhold too much criticism for somebody who's not being allowed to have fun or eat anything.
Well, she drank milk on screen, right? I think she was fine.
There's something so fucked up about watching any person just drink a glass of milk. What is it? Why is that the scariest part of the whole movie?
She was coached by Jim Harbaugh for months on how to sip milk.
Oh, that's
right. Doesn't he famously orders like steak and a big tall glass of milk?
Does he? Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah.
That's a fun little football joke for you. And I only know his name because he coached in the NFL. Or wait, which one is actively in the NFL? Is that Jim or John?
I forget. I think it's Jim Harbaugh is now at Michigan. But anyway, no, I thought that was like a weird. They didn't necessarily have to do that if they were gonna like be like, remember, she's like a cat in different ways. Like, then make her really like milk, not just sip it once. That was weird.
Make her like it. Wait. Your feedback is make her really like milk.
Yeah, if you're gonna
and that's why she's called Catwoman, because she really likes milk.
Well, why else would she?
I really need you to defend this.
What makes her Catwoman in this movie? She has
long
a
nails.
cat.
Has
okay,
cat.
She's got long nails. And she likes milk a little bit. I don't know. They could have gone harder. I liked in what was the cat movie one where she like cat movie one. My God.
The cat movie?
The cat woman who was like eaten by cats for a little bit because they thought she was dead.
Oh, I think it's Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah, Batman Returns, right?
Yeah. So that was cool because that felt like an actual transformation in some way, and like she like lived like with a bunch of cats and stuff, and
No, all of the women in the like 80s, 90s Batman movies were truly iconic in their own ways. Like I think they were a lot of people's sexual awakenings, whether or not they like want to admit it. But like
the Penguin.
Like the Penguin. Woo. Love it. No, but just like everybody in those movies was weird and cartoony, but also like really sexy. And like I think when you're like, let's say 11, something can't be too sexy, because if it's too real, you're still scared of it because you like don't totally understand your feelings of the world yet. But when Uma Thurman is Poison Ivy and she's like a nerdy little lab assistant, and then like she gets pushed into poison, and then when she comes out she's hot, you're like, okay. Do you know what I mean?
That could happen to me one day. Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah, I could get pushed into poison.
Like hypersexual. Yeah. I also, speaking of that movie, I also was confused as I became an adult. At what point you are supposed to start using like lip condoms, right? Remember Robin like kisses Poison Ivy, and he's like,
it's because she's got the poison lips because that's sexy.
Well, I know that now, but I thought that was a part of sex.
It can be if you're doing it right.
The other thing that I will say about this Catwoman, which again, like the movie, no like crazy like knee-jerk like hated this part of it. It was kind of weird to me that they went out of their way to establish that she was in a relationship and that the person who was her partner was brutally murdered. And she's mad, but not fucked up. Whereas Bruce, his parents were murdered, I don't know, 11 years ago. And he's like, I'm super fucked up. And she's like, pretty okay. Do you know what I mean? Like, she's like, I'm really angry at those guys. I'm going to make sure those guys pay. But there's no like any, do you know what I mean? They don't even talk about it, where they're just like, yeah, it's pretty fucked up when somebody you love is murdered. Yeah, totally. That happened to me too. She's just sort of like righteously mad.
I feel like
power.
yeah,
do you know
I
what
feel
I mean?
because she had kind of a tough life compared to Bruce, who was like coddled start to finish, and suddenly he had everything taken away from him except for billions of dollars. But she already had a tough life, and she was already like a young adult when the love of her life was like brutally murdered, and so like she was able to just
and
kind
then
of.
her mom was murdered. She's got a lot of fucked up stuff, and she's just sort of like.
Yeah.
She's just sort of like, yeah, it's tough to be a woman, and that's why I kill men, which is like very like this trope exists in many, many movies and things like that, where it's like when women kill, it's like because something bad happened and it made them sexy. Do you know what I mean? Like something really bad happened to me and now I'm very sexy about it. Whereas like Bruce's parents died and he like lives in a basement and can't make relationships. I don't know. My thought isn't totally fully formed, but that is sort of how I feel about it.
No, it's a great comparison. Because did they even really bond over their?
No. She was like, my mom
like,
was murdered. And he's like, that's tough. That's rough, buddy.
Fall in love.
Yeah. He was like, oh, your mom was murdered? That's rough.
Yeah, been
Wish
there.
I could relate. It's like, you can relate. I don't know.
If you only try.
If you could only try. I don't know. The gamut of weird adult orphan really runs wide. You could be Frodo Baggins, but you could also be Batman. You could really be anything.
Yeah. I actually, in a recent video, I think we talked about how it tends to be that adoptive villains are way more evil than the non-adoptive versions, like in that family. It's like the adopted one, if it's a mixed family, like adopted and biological, the adoptive one tends to be evil. Just, I mean, I think that's true in real life, but just noticing that's happening.
What is that in this movie?
Just an orphan theoretically being adopted into a family. No, it's not necessarily in this movie.
Somebody pull up the TV trope tags of evil adopted child in mixed family.
I mean, there are a lot in like horror movies and stuff, such as the movie Orphan, of which I am the star.
Fun.
I get that a lot. The Joker wasn't not the Joker. The Riddler was an evil orphan.
Correct.
But he was also an evil orphan because he had grown up in the system, and the system was so terrible that it made him be a bad little boy.
Yeah. I could look up my. It's just a lot of stuff like adoptive relationships tend to breed evil characters as opposed to. I mean, I know biological ones will too. So I'll pull it up.
Yeah,
pull it up.
It makes sense to me because it's an easy out for like a screenwriter to be like, what's something that will psychologically ruin a person from the very beginning? Adoption.
So here's part of the
yeah, it's pretty easy to be like, yeah, isn't that kid weird?
I think
we got him from somewhere else.
I think part of it is it's actually more about the redemptive nature of it. If it's like in F9, his brother Jacob with a K is evil, but he gets redeemed. But like Blofeld is James Bond's adoptive. Well, James Bond is technically the adopted brother in that one, but their relationship can't be saved, or like Credence Wormjizz or whatever his name is, and in the new Harry Potter movies is evil, and
Credence Wormjizz.
Cream and Squirmjizz?
Yeah, whatever. The Harry Potter character.
I haven't seen any of these new movies, so I'm going to take this as face value and assume that their names are Cream and Squirmjizz.
It's Credence, like Credence Clearwater, but Credence Wormjizz. It's it doesn't matter. All right, we're gonna go. Do you guys got anything else, or can we go to some of these fan questions?
Yeah, I have just one pretty big question: is why is the entire city of Gotham surrounded by a seawall? Why did they build an underwater city and then just like throw up some concrete walls?
Global warming.
That was weird.
Yeah.
Especially since at no point ever before had anybody said anything about like, hey, it rains a lot in Gotham, which is a big deal because we would really not like these seawalls.
Yes, they didn't mention the seawalls until like they needed to be blown up.
It was a big deal.
Yeah, they're like, oh, by the way, the one thing that would actually cause a lot of damage, we have that here, and he is attacking that. And you're like, oh, shoot. I thought he was just killing people.
Yeah. It really felt like, oh, cool, a new movie starts now.
Right.
These are different rules. It's a different universe now.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's go into some things. Mark Hill asked, Jordan,
what's up, Mark?
Jordan, do you want to defend your belief that the Riddler was right? So here's the deal.
When did you say that? He was right.
I didn't.
Did you say
Mark
that?
Hill is a writer for us. He's being dumb.
Okay.
But I do think it is interesting that essentially, and this is a trend in all sorts of movies now with supervillains and stuff, which is they are basically 95% correct in their beliefs through most of the movie, most of the series. You see this with the Flag Smashers or whatever in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And then all of a sudden they're like, the city is corrupt. Like all the cops are on the payroll. They're using the thing that's supposed to renew the city to launder money. And I think all those things are bad. And you're like, yeah, I agree. And also I'm gonna blow up the city and set it on fire. And you're like, no. Or they're like, I'm gonna slit this child's throat in front of you. And you're like, wait, that part's bad. I guess you're bad now, but not. Their ideas.
Sometimes sometimes the connection is somewhat tenuous too. Where like you don't know how they got from point A to point B. Where they're like, we should have universal health care. And you're like, okay. And he's like, so I'm going to kill this kid in front of you. And you're like, no, wait.
Well, like with the Riddler, it's like, okay, everything's corrupt. Everything's bad. We should assassinate the brand new mayor who has literally nothing to do with it. Not only nothing to do with it, but is advocating the thing that you hate is bad. That's literally her platform is, hey, the renewal project thing sucks ass.
Yeah, why did they have such a, I guess they were sort of anti-organized anything. But you are right. She was very much sort of ideologically more on the same page as they were.
If she and Paul Dano had sat down at a Waffle House and just discussed their ideas, I think they really would have gotten along. But he
should have sent her a card. Yeah. That's what he should use. That's what he should do with his card printing business.
But instead, he's like, so what we should do is we should kill everybody. That's how we'll save the orphans if we drown them. And you're like, well, maybe.
We all got on at the same stop, which is corruption is bad. But then we got off, and they stayed on the train until they arrived at domestic terror.
Yeah, it's just it's a bridge too far, and it's something that they do a lot, which is I just feel like in movies a lot now they're taking villains. They used to be like, I don't know, I'm going to use a space laser to hold the world hostage and make $1 trillion. And you're like, I get it. That's not good. But now it's always like, hey, we're displaced refugees and we want the world to remain how it was when it was borderless because life was more fair or whatever, like in the Flag Smashers and the thing. And you're like, oh, I can see that. And they're like, and we're going to kill everybody, everywhere. All the politicians in the world.
Oh, no, don't do that.
It's a step too far. Anyway, so that was one.
Everybody's yelling at me in the chat saying that the seawalls were foreshadowed in these like subtle Easter eggs.
It's
Sorry
true.
I didn't catch the Easter eggs.
In the beginning of the movie, when Batman's like, look at this newspaper.
Oh, yeah.
It's all like, the seawalls. We have to be reinforced. Money for seawalls?
Yeah.
But that
every time I do it makes me laugh.
Do you remember? You remember when he's walking down the street and there's a little Dutch boy with his finger on a wall and he's like, I'm Selassie holding back the water. Yeah. I thought that was weird.
Is anybody coming to replace me on my shift or is it only going to be me? And they're like, you got it, buddy. You got it.
So hungry and this water is brackish. I haven't drank in 3 days.
I did.
You got it, little dude. Congrats.
I didn't think that meant anything initially, but now that I'm thinking back on
now I see. Yeah. That's why he was there.
Somebody asked, did the Riddler know Batman was Bruce? No. And in fact,
it's proven in the movie when Batman thinks he got caught, but he didn't get caught.
Yeah, so it's a
he's like mask halfway off.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
It's a bad question, but also it's one that a lot of people don't seem to know because when we were preparing for this, I read a bunch of other people's articles on it, and comic book resources, like the first thing of explaining the ending was like, Paul Dano knew that Batman and Bruce Wayne were the same person. So, they saw it as a plot hole. So why didn't he?
No, he didn't
kill Bruce Wayne or Batman or something. And I was like, what are you freaking talking about?
He literally says, like, if only we could have killed Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, it's just.
He slipped through my fingers.
I don't understand.
And Batman's like, yeah, totally. He totally slipped through her fingers.
A lot of people.
Yeah, that happened.
A lot of people miss that for some reason. I
like the part. Wait, before you say one more thing, I'm going to say my favorite part of the movie, which is when they were interrogating the Penguin and then they left him. And it was sort of like a "we'll come back for you" moment where they just sort of like left him under a bridge.
Yeah.
Again, just actors having fun, having a little Having a little laugh.
And in our the Batman for $20, we had the Penguin with his pants down like that go, "I'm waddling here," which I think is just a really great reference.
He was having a good time. I agree.
Um,
Reference to
Taxi. Oh no, Midnight Cowboy.
Yeah, Midnight Cowboy, one of my favorite movies. Thank you.
You're welcome. This one is probably not good for us because although we are nerdy in many ways, what other main villains could a sequel actually handle in this grounded universe other than the Joker? Because the rest, quote unquote, according to them, have unnatural abilities that some might deem unnatural.
Yeah. I mean, like, that is the problem with the problem. I'm saying that very loosely with like comic books, is that like comic books tend to, especially when you go back to like early runs of things to get like classic villains. It's like, it's Calendar Man. Oh no, with the power of the calendar, he's gonna change my month. My period got all screwed up because he changed the month in the middle of the month. Do you know what I mean? Like, that is sort of like, it's really hard to be like, okay, what's the gritty take on Calendar Man? Do you know what I mean?
It's funny you say that. Literally, that is the villain in the Well, it's not the villain in the Long Halloween, but it's who they keep thinking can help them solve it, because the Holiday Killer, quote unquote, which there's one for you, the Holiday Killer, it's just. I think the way you do it is you just basically have to take everybody and turn them into weird serial killers or something,
Right.
or terrorists or something, where whatever their power normally is watered down. Like Bane would be fine. He's just strong and he breathes weird. Ra's al Ghul is fine if you say he's not magic. He's just a good ninja. I thought Scarecrow with the gas. I mean, all the Christopher Nolan stuff.
Oh, Scarecrow was scary. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
He was good. I liked him.
And, there's, as Jesse knows, there's Kite Man, who beats the shit out of people with kites. I think there's a fun way to do that.
Like, what are they going to do? Be like, I got strangled by a kite when I was a kid. And as the life was fading from my eyes, I thought, if I survive this, I'm going to make sure everyone who's ever played with a kite dies. And then he does.
I mean,
I would watch that. Yes.
10 years, that's going to be a
I'm going to write that and I'm going to sell it for billions of dollars.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions that presuppose that we know anything about comic books, which maybe we should have reviewed a different movie. Like, what other DC heroes should they make a movie of to save the franchise?
Calendar Man.
Kite Man.
Kite Man, Calendar Man. We've named them all.
Yeah, it could just be called The Mans, and we take all the Kite Mans and the Calendar Mans, and they like...
That's a rom-com. That's like the answer to WandaVision, DC's answer.
Yeah.
The Mans.
The Mans.
The Mans.
Oh, somebody said you should quit the internet, Jesse. That's fine. Because you didn't get the seawall.
Why would you write that down?
Man. That's it.
Brian wrote that down and sent it to me, so it's his fault.
Sometimes people do really bad things on the internet, but it's cool. But if you missed the part with the seawall, you should be banned. You should have your stroked.
All right.
You're right.
You missed the part with the seawall. I don't even trust you. Like, what am I letting you like be on Earth for?
I saw the seawall when they pointed to it and blew it up. That's all that matters.
I got one more question from the audience, which is, what would a grounded Dr. Freeze look like? And as a reminder,
Benedict Cumberbatch.
That's it. That's the answer. No, if I'm not mistaken, I don't remember why he got like dipped in something or whatever, but he has to keep his body temperature really low.
Yeah. To stay alive.
So he builds a suit to that end. Is that a thing that medically could be possible, or?
Oh, I mean, it is. They built that for the for all the Wookiees in the prequel series.
Okay.
All the Wookiees in the newer movies have full suits that are have cold water pumping through them.
Huh.
So that's what it would look like.
So he's just like a really hairy man, and that would be such a good take on it. So Mr. Freeze is actually just a really hairy. Is he a really hairy dude, or he likes to put on a suit that makes him look hairier, and he has to cool himself?
Okay.
There's not a lot of ways to take this. All right, we're picking new titles. Unless you guys got anything else.
Forgot again.
Oh my God.
This really is sick at this point. Okay, it's just sick. I gotta remember.
It's distressing. How many times you forget this? All right, we'll see. If anybody's got another title, just feel free to.
Yeah, someone please save my butt if you wouldn't mind.
I got a good one.
All right, go.
The Rain Man.
Ooh. Yeah.
That's great. There hasn't been a movie called that. You
No, they
really
should.
should make that.
Yeah. He's a little slow, but he's good at solving certain types of puzzles.
He is, man. Yeah.
And he farts in phone booths. I had Rat with Wings, man.
Oh yeah, I forgot that was a major plot point.
It's like the biggest plot point, debatably. It's weird because, okay, so I think it's really clever that URL Rada Alada actually is URL, like a website. Rada Alada. That's cool. But the fact that a rat with wings applies to two characters perfectly, Batman and the Penguin, and doesn't really at all apply to a freaking falcon. And yet,
No.
and even
Especially because like when they were doing it, they were like a pigeon, a falcon, and it's like, wait a minute.
There are several birds in between.
The same. It's like that's like naming two humans back to back and being like,
yeah, meet the meat
Allie,
people.
Andy Serkis.
Right, Jordan Breeding, Michelle Obama, and it's like, hey, what? Just because they're both alive? Like yeah, that was a little weird.
And we've done a lot.
Again, there should have been a better. It was a mystery movie, and it should have had a better like mystery. But
yes.
like, I think its benefit was that like there were so many threads, and so I was never like bored. I was like, okay, I'm interested in knowing where that thread leads. But definitely, they never were like good riddles. Remember when you were reading like The Hobbit when you were a kid, and Gollum was like, I'll give you this all-powerful ring if only you can answer my riddle. And then the riddle was like easy because it's like a book for like young adults. And you're like, yeah, cool. That's cool. So now this guy has this cool ring that this little gremlin gave him. And then the
Honestly,
next book is like, actually, that ring is evil. The ring is actually the epitome of all evil. It's all evil incarnate. You gotta kill it. You gotta destroy it. And it's like, but I got this in a riddle contest. Like, I don't. How can this possibly be the same thing?
I got it. Yeah, I got it in a Cracker Jack box. You can't tell me this is a working gun.
Literally, they were like the Cracker Jack box was like, answer me if you can see what can be blue, but also you. And it's like, my eyes. And it's like, you got it. This gun won't stop firing until you bring it into a volcano. You have to put this gun into that volcano, or else everyone around you is gonna die. And you're like, oh no, I wish I hadn't answered the stupid riddle.
It's like if Steve from Blue's Clues could mail every kid a grenade whenever they get a clue.
Yeah,
you got it. Check your mailbox for real.
All right. So other titles. I was gonna say The World's Most Okay Detective, based on what we were saying. Somebody had Rat Race. It's pretty good.
Hey,
ooh, that's good. Who did?
Do
you know the username?
Yeah. Rat Race. Michael Sterlacci.
Michael,
hell yeah, Michael.
You got my vote.
You get a grenade.
You get a grenade.
You get a grenade.
There's Batman Teaches Spanish, which is from Brian Slack. I wonder if there's a way to say that in Spanish. Batman puedes educar en español.
En español.
Sí. Muy bien. There's Dawn of the Planet of the Bat. This is pretty good because it's Matt Reeves. Have you guys watched the Planet of the Apes trilogy, the new one? Ooh, you should do that. It's really good.
We should start doing trilogy.
There was another movie he directed that I was like, wait, I remember I liked that one, but now I forget what it was.
Well,
it was 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Oh, he directed that?
Oh.
Yes, with John Goodman and what's her name? Who's good?
Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who's in everything.
Yes.
Everything she's in, she's amazing. She was in the only good Final Destination 3.
She's really good in that movie too, and he's very scary, and I really like that movie a lot.
And John Gallagher.
John Gallagher Jr.
Yeah, something like that. He's pretty good. He's fun.
Yeah. They were a really good little trio of actors, considering they were like the only actors for a very long time.
Man Bat Riches to Rags. Love it.
Nice.
Matt Band Confused in the City. All right, so we're gonna wrap this up unless you got anything else, because we're an hour 15. We got people to.
Okay, let me blast out my last.
Oh yeah, go.
Blast him out.
Impractical Joker.
Oh no.
Zoe and Rob's Infinite Playlist.
God.
Incel, but in the saw font. And
I like that as a visual joke.
And Reboot at the Seawall.
Ooh. I do like the seawall.
Oh, see, Jesse remembered the seawall. He remembered it so much.
I saw the seawall.
Great. Somebody did ask, okay, how does this compare to other Batmans? It's my second favorite. I like Dark Knight better. I like it more than... I don't know. It's actually probably somewhere in the middle. I did like kind of Batman Begins a lot. I don't know.
I like Batman Begins. And what was the one that had Bane and Ra's al Ghul and stuff? That's probably my least favorite. Even less than the like corny 90s ones. I think I'd still prefer to rewatch those than to watch Rises.
Manu, if that's how you say your name. Batman Gotham in a Bat Rage. There, I said your title.
Are you happy?
You happy?
You happy?
Cool. Well, let's wrap this up. You guys ready? You ready for this?
Yeah.
So let's do it. Let's get out of here.
So we're gonna be doing this every Monday, and we're gonna get better, I promise. But every Monday,
I won't.
Well, we'll see.
I've made no plans to improve.
Every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern, we'll be on here and we'll be talking about something. If you want us to do something specific, go to crack.com/movie club, where we have like a newsletter and stuff, and you can email us suggestions for other future movies. And also, if you happen to miss the live stream, you can obviously watch it on here, so subscribe to us on YouTube. But we also are going to throw them up on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, wherever you get that stuff. So
yeah, honestly, please recommend some stuff, because we have really hit a wall with recommending things to each other. So it's not imposing. It's actually very helpful.
Yeah.
Please email us some ideas.
You can also just comment or whatever. We'll try and find it. But Allie, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Miss Alice Nutting, MSALICENUTTING. You can also find me at 44 Below on Tuesdays.
Oh.
I tell jokes. I have a 10-minute stand-up set at 44 Below.
Really?
It's weird. They're not interested. Mostly it's a lot of men having sex with women in public and doing drugs. So people aren't a really big fan of my crowd work, but it pays the bills. So I do have a set there every Tuesday night.
Wonderful.
You can find me in Gotham. Thank you.
Jesse, where can we find you?
You can find me down by the seawall with my finger in the hole, just holding this city together.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
And also on Twitter at Eisemann, EISEMANN.
And you can find me on Twitter at @the_J_breeding. And that's it. We're done. I'm gonna stop streaming. Thank you for doing the things.